Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. And at the interest of, sounding redundant, I'm going to say it again. You can watch this and every episode now of the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast in full, unedited on the Ringer Reality Television YouTube channel. So go there, hit the subscribe button, and don't ever miss another second of all the amazing television moments that we bring to you here on this podcast. So today, I want to dive into the remarkable true story of a comeback. All right. And I'm not talking about a family that took him in as a tiny little copperhead after being left on the doorstep of a fire station. I'm talking about the story of stepping away from the challenge, soaring into retirement, only to rise again like a mythical flaming phoenix. Emphasis on the flaming, obviously. Only to return to the stage wiser, stronger, and ready to set the stage ablaze once again. You've known him for decades on the challenge, obviously, as Wes Bergmann. But this season, you'll get to know him as a villain. But you'd be surprised, as I would as well, that he also goes by such names as Firecrotch, Cherry Fro, Carrot Top, Ariel the Little Mermaid, Dorothy, Scarlet Head, Ginger Pubes, Lobster, Redwood, Rosaline, Matchstick Man. But those who are close to him and really know him, family, friends, his wife, and his daughter when she probably starts speaking. The really intimate people that know Wes know him as Cinnamon, Scarlet Man, Flame Cranium, Spitfire, El Gingerino, Ranga, Mary Queen of Scots, Copper Kettle, Red Riding Hood, Carrot Top, Cheeto Head, and Gingerade Tail. So I'd like to welcome him back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast again, because to me, he just goes by Bergie. So here to talk about the challenge and this season of House of Villains, Mr. Wes Bergmann. Welcome back.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, your jokes haven't changed one little bit. You have been stunted in growth more than anyone I have ever met in my entire life. You are the living embodiment of Peter Pan.
Listen, I'm only stunted in growth from the waist down, Wes. Okay?
Okay. Yes,
the rest of me's grown, with the exception of I think emotionally, I might be a little bit stunted as well.
Yeah, there's a handful of things that are just stunted.
Yeah.
And in a way that makes you endearing, and in a way, I always tell people I absolutely love you in short doses. And we're 3 minutes and 54 seconds into this, and I'm already over it.
Okay. So wait, you like me in short doses. So
I
you're
like
saying
you better than any other challenger in short
But
doses.
you're saying you get sick of me real quick.
Very.
Okay.
And then once I've kind of eclipsed, I hate you more than any other challenger.
Okay.
So like you're meant to be like an appetizer, not a main meal.
So I'm kind of like a girl you meet on OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd prefer you in that way, digital, like on the other side of a screen, quite frankly.
You would swipe right though. Come on, Wes.
I would. And then I would probably enjoy the first 10 minutes, and then eventually we would need to depart.
How's retirement? Well, are you retired? You're retired, you're not retired. You're retired from the challenge, but you still do other shows.
Yeah, I never said retire. I just said I'm not doing the challenge anymore. Like I have a job.
Okay.
Right. And then I'll do
You're a dad.
I'm a dad. There's so much to catch up on and talk about.
Dude.
But like I just can't do the challenge anymore, in the sense of the challenge is a multi-month commitment of just being there.
Mm-hmm.
And then not to mention the month's worth of prep work if you want to show up and actually be good enough to win.
Or the month's leading up to it of creating alliances through the DMs. That takes a lot of time as well.
I actually even stopped doing that, and I just say I do because at this point it's a fun storyline, but it doesn't help. All it does is set me up for failure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's months of fake phone calls and text messages you have to send out, all this stuff. It's just quite the commitment.
Yeah.
And while all you guys were on 40, I got a lot done. Like, it's crazy. I've had the most successful year of my life not being on the show.
I can relate because I remember there was a couple seasons I took off, and even though they were like during the COVID years, it was what, 36 and 37. I came back for 38.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I did as well. Isn't it crazy though how much, not just when you're filming, not just when we're there filming, but even off the show, before the show, like you were saying, dealing with the show when it's airing, just how much bandwidth this world requires?
I am gone and it still requires a lot. I'm giving you a half a day of my life today to talk about a show that I'm not on and don't get paid for. In fact, I had to.
You still do, but but you still do. You're doing your Patreon, so you're still watching.
Isn't it sad that I make more money from the challenge than 90% of the challengers do? And I'm not even on it.
Isn't it sad that on 39, I got more airtime on that season and I wasn't on it?
I got more airtime than 2 or 3 people on that season. Like, I mean, it's just, I've gotten more airtime than 3 or 4 people this season.
Well, speaking of coming on and talking about the challenge, we're not on it, and just press in general.
You're just going right into it.
I just want to say, Wes, you know what, man? You are one of the most selfless individuals I've ever met because you're willing to go and promote a project and a show you're on that you want to be successful, that you're attached to. That success of that said project is kind of reflective upon you.
Yeah.
The fact that you're doing that and not asking to get paid for it, I mean, you're a hero.
I don't know. In fact, I had to pay to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to take between getting here and going back, I will have spent hundreds of dollars just getting here. And I'm not even complaining. It's
you should city bike or rollerblade. I rollerbladed down.
Yeah.
I got them checked in the valet.
That makes a lot of sense. But like, okay, listen, like, let's just get at the heart of what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
because it's out on Twitter now. Because I mean, I'm obviously I am 100% in the same camp as you, where it just goes along with shows you're on, right? You see people that go on talk shows, you see people that go on podcasts or they, do interviews. It's like you're not doing that for money. You're doing that obviously to promote yourself and to promote your project.
Okay, yes, but we are getting paid. It's just in the contract. We get paid to go on the show, and part of the package deal, the bundle, is that you're going to do press, and you basically grant them several days of press inside of the contract. So we are getting paid. It's just in this one big kind of lump sum that we get at the beginning. And so when people are like, "Oh my God, they should pay you for press," all this kind of stuff, I'm like, bitch. We have been paid for press. Now, when
you say people, you're referring to Corey, right?
I mean, Corey has identified himself.
Why'd you just call Corey a bitch, dude? That's wild.
It just rolled right off the tongue. It was so easy. Now, there's others that are in that school of thought, and to a certain extent, let me give them the big argument, okay? The one that no one talks about that they should, which is...
So this is directed towards Amanda.
This would be directed at any of them. The press really is in a gray area of we're not like in handcuffs forced to do it by gunpoint, but because you're supposed to do your best to try and come, but if you have an excuse to get out of it, you can. Like, it's not the absolute in the world, but you should want to do it because you want the show to do well, and you also can't ask for more.
In handcuffs, trying our best to do not to come. Are we still talking about what? Are we still talking about press, Wes?
I'm talking about your love life.
Okay.
Yeah. But so it's like we all have already been paid to do press.
Yes.
And then there's also, and why, Buna Murray and MTV aren't going to like sue these cast members or anything over it is because there's a pecking order of kind of quote unquote press of things that they find important. And the reunion is more important than the press opportunities. So they're not going to like pick a fight. They're not going to, they choose their battles, and they would choose everyone to show up to the reunion more. But it's just kind of silly. Now, do I think that someone like an Amanda should have to fly from Denver, I think she lives, to Los Angeles for a thing, and when she's already got a job, no, I think that she should be allowed to say, I pass. But Corey that lives driving distance from a fan appreciation event that is boycotting not going because he wants to get paid more for something that he's already been paid to be at, that's exactly the kind of stuff that's just downright silly.
The way that I see it too, and this is the way that I've always seen when it comes to press, yes, it's annoying. And yes, when we have to, sit there for hours on end doing like the press car wash where we're talking to one outlet after the next, whether it's in person or doing the phoners, they call them. It's annoying. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is why, and I think you and I have always been of the same mindset. When I'm on a challenge, when we are there, I'm constantly looking at what I can do to make the show better.
Yeah.
Stuff that's not being asked of us, we go above and beyond to, douse people in gasoline, light them on fire. We see moments that we think are going to be funny. We, basically we threw Jen Leasy to the wolves without her knowing it. We got the great moment with Tyler and Alyssa.
There's an infinite amount. You can't even start. Okay, so a lot of people refer to this as, and I love it when they say this because I know I've already got them beat in the grand scheme of things is when they do. Getting asked to be on the show, they call the golden ticket, right? Like in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, as if getting on the show is all that's required.
Yeah.
Getting on the show is just you got the job, and then you've got to go to the job and be good at the job. Yeah. And to be, I've never actually had a job, but I've seen a lot of television.
I haven't either. A real one.
Me neither. I've never had a job, but I watch a lot of television and movies, and in these movies, I learn roughly what it would be like to have a job. Yeah. You got to politic with the higher ups. You got to show up on time. You got to do what's asked of you and more. You got to learn. You got to study.
You've got to sleep with your coworkers, but then try and keep that from not blowing up in your face.
But and sometimes you need to sleep with your coworkers and purposely get it to blow up in your face because that is our job. And some of these people, they just show up and they think that they're going to get as popular and wealthy as us by sitting in their bunk bed, not winning, not being funny, not being articulate, being crappy in an interview chair, not doing press because it's not paid, but it doesn't pay extra. And it's entitlement. And it's like, no, we're entertainers. We're there to do a job. And then these same exact people are like, why am I not getting chosen for all these other shows? Why is it that Wes and Bananas are always talked about and get all this money and all this opportunities as we're sitting here workaholics?
Yeah.
Like not
we are.
Like
and we work too much.
It's not work if you love it.
And that's a great quote. It's actually from Ford versus Ferrari. Matt Damon says it. He goes, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Damn.
And that's why I love being a stay-at-home son. It's the greatest fucking job ever.
I just don't understand. Like, listen, this is the deal. And I want the fans to understand this. One of the reasons why you like watching you and I on the show is because we actually enjoy the game. We enjoy what we do. And there are hard parts. It's hard. It's called the challenge. But we're proud of it and proud of the product. And therefore, the fans should enjoy that. And there are people that are there just for a paycheck. And those people wonder why the fans don't relate to them.
Do you think that sometimes what's often overlooked on the challenge, because anytime you hear about, especially like, oh, this one's the GOAT, this one's the GOAT, that one's the GOAT, they always distill it down and boil it down to just a person's physical attributes.
Yeah.
When I've always argued and maintained that it's like, yes, that's part of it. Obviously, you need to be athletic, but that's more to win challenges and to, I guess, have people fear going into eliminations against you. But I think the true mark of the greats, it's not necessarily what they did in an elimination or on a challenge. It's what they've done in the house and what they've contributed to the show, because 5-10% of the show is the challenges. The rest is the, politics, the social game. It's all social. It's all a mental game. And that's the thing is I think that needs to be weighted a little more heavily when you get into those conversations, because too many people get so focused on this guy's a beast, this one's a fucking athlete. It's like, okay, cool. We are too. But at the same time, it's almost like I feel like being an athlete in a way on the challenge or being athletic is an easier skill set to bring to the table than being entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why you look at how many professional athletes can you sit here and name that are actually entertaining? off the field, like in interviews and just like from a personality standpoint? Not many.
Yeah, there's a few, but not, relative to all. Okay, so my favorite relatively new kind of fan account is, I think it's called like Challenge Stats.
Okay.
And he or she does a really good job. I guarantee that their job does something along these lines, but they put out all these great graphs about how many times
It's like sports science.
It's sports science. How many times you've been mentioned, as in you're getting talked about, how many interviews you're getting and how much airtime you're getting, and all of a sudden you start to get an idea of why guys like you and I are the quote unquote GOATs and everyone else isn't getting the opportunities because no one's talking about them. They're not running with the interviews. And this isn't like, oh, put Wes and Bananas on the show just because of who they are. No, we're stealing the show. We're going in, we're taking it. It's ours. Everyone else, oh, you're playing too hard. Just get in your bunk and do nothing else kind of stuff. It's like, how am I going to steal the show if I go play a quiet game?
Yeah.
How am I going to steal the show if I don't do the politics? How am I going to steal the show if I don't make that big move? And everyone's like, oh, Wes, your game blows up in your face. You're playing too hard. You're doing too much. These are all the things that all of the way less famous people say to me. And I'm like, bitch, do you not realize that I'm doing this on purpose?
Yeah. There's a reason.
I'm like the coyote.
Yeah.
I never catch the roadrunner. But you want to know what? Coyote has been famous now for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't need to catch the roadrunner. I'm relevant.
Yeah.
I am going to create all these bombs and all these little Acme games and all this kind of stuff. And the fans are going to love watching me fail. And I'm going to steal the show.
How many times in the moment have you been in like one of those moments? Because it happens to me all the time. Because what a lot of people also don't realize is that in the moment when you're making a scene, that you're making a scene.
Yeah.
And there have been so many times when a scene has been like really tense or everyone's afraid to say something and those are the moments that I'm like, okay, you have to be willing to say and do what everyone else is unwilling to say and do in the moment.
Yeah.
If there's something happening and everyone's being serious but you think it's funny, fucking laugh.
It's not good for your game to do that.
No.
And that's the thing that
it's not good for your game at the moment. But then what happens 100 times out of 100, and I can't tell you how many times this has happened, when it airs, okay, when it finally comes out and you were willing to do what nobody else was willing to do.
Yeah.
It's the best because everyone looks at you like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
You're doing things and that's what I've, on whether it's the challenge, I did it on Traders as well. When we walked in the first nomination ceremony and I stole the gold bar and I fucking dropped it on the table as loud as I could as soon as he started his speech. Like that's what I think separates us aside is going above the call and not waiting for somebody to tell you what to do.
Yeah, because no one's going to tell you what to do. I have never once, maybe it's just because we're so good, but I've never once been given advice about what to do.
Yeah.
You just have to be your own producer. What is funny in this moment? And let's talk about funny for a second.
Okay.
Why? This was a funny episode that we're going to get into, by the way. This was debatably the funniest episode.
Episode 7.
Episode 7 was very, very funny.
Of the challenge.
Of the challenge was very, very funny. But being a comedian needs to be an absolute prerequisite of being on the challenge, more so than how much you can bench press.
This is what I was just saying earlier. This is exactly what I'm talking about is, okay, you've got a Horacio who I love to death.
Yeah.
Great guy. So sweet. I'd literally be like, allow my sister to date him type of guy. But when it comes to entertainment value, you know what I mean? It's freak athlete.
Yeah.
Fantastic in that regard. I think, Landon was kind of that same boat. A lot of people are always like, oh, Landon was so great. Yes, he was great at the game from a physical standpoint. But one of the reasons why we're not allowed to have books in the house is because of Landon. Mm-hmm. Because he would sit in bed and read all day.
Yeah.
That's not good for TV.
Not at all.
But no, I 100% agree with you that you need it. If you want to know who the most important people to the show are, to the franchise are, look who narrates the episodes.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like that challenge stats guy.
Yeah.
Is because he literally breaks it down, and it might be a woman, by the way. So no idea. Challenge stats, shout out. They break it down into how many times you've gotten an interview, and they choose the interview by who is the funniest and is also moving the storyline north. And so, again, I don't feel bad for the people that are at the bottom of that list that don't get the opportunities that we get, and then they complain.
Then how do you explain what's happening with me this season where I'm being shadow banned?
So, okay.
Because I get it every episode. People are like, dude, we don't even see you. I'm like, trust me, I was there and I was mixed up in every single thing that was happening every episode so far. Every major storyline, I've in some way, shape, or form, ingratiated myself into it. Yeah. Buddy, I forget I'm even on the show sometimes.
I'm not 100% sure. They could be spreading the love. They could be, but they also could be trying their best to brand other people, because at some point they're going to lose you and they need to kind of build up some of the others.
Well, they've already lost my toast.
At least they showed the deleted scenes.
But they only did that because I fucking raised holy hell.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, the Era's format overall.
Yeah.
What do you think about the format and how it was set up? And I will say, I think, and again, I don't know how they would have remedied this other than having you there, but the big glaring oversight is Era 2 men.
Yeah.
Because we would have been on the same era.
We would have. Yeah.
That would have been really funny.
Yeah.
But the theme overall, what do you think?
It was it's badass.
Yeah.
I was worried about the older people, but they got the best older people. Even though they're looking for, they're a sight for sore eyes these days.
Best, okay, we'll go back to this. The best personality-wise, not necessarily the best physically in their current states.
In their current states looking pretty bad, but they also have some great women that showed up to represent, and so they were able to defend themselves. But back to the main question, the structure of this game is amazing.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying every last little bit of it. And I'm wondering, what else, other than me, obviously, because other than me, what could have possibly made this season better? Do you want more hookups? Do you want more fights? Do you want more strategy? What about that makes the challenge good is it lacking in?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. Even the traditionally hater-esque accounts are pretty quiet right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of hilarious. It's going down, in my opinion. It might be one of, if not the greatest seasons ever. And I know you're not really supposed to say that mid-season. You're supposed to wait and let it mellow after a couple of years. This might be the best season that's ever been produced. Greatest cast, great structure, very straightforward game in the grand scheme of things. And the cast members are bringing it.
Yeah.
And things could change, but right now I think we're 7 episodes for 7 episodes. I've been highly entertained. And I am obviously a challenge connoisseur, and this is like caviar every week. And so my hat is tipped to the producers and to the cast members, and quite frankly to the fans. When I read the blogs and the Reddit posts and stuff, and they've got such a good handle on how the game is going and what should happen next. And I think so in the three-legged stool of the fans, the producers, and the cast members, I tip my hat to all 3 of them.
You got to be a little bummed you're not. It's got to suck though watching. Because again, like you said, I know I would be. It would almost be like one of those parties where I don't know how cool this party is going to be. I don't think I want to go. And then you see everyone's posts the next day. And you're like, fuck, I missed out. You almost got FOMO.
I have FOMO.
Okay.
There's no doubt. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I don't. There is some really important stuff going on in my life that I needed to stay home for. And
what, having a kid?
And everyone goes back to the kid thing. And don't get me wrong, being a father is really, really important. And that is very much so, in fact, the main reason why I'm staying home. But very shortly thereafter, there's departments of my business that have absolutely taken off. And it is so financially irresponsible for me to not be there. And I just need to be at the helm of my venture. And
bro, someone's got to keep it. Listen, your monster trucks are not going to watch themselves. Listen. Someone's got to keep an eye on your fucking car collection.
Do you know how many monster trucks I can buy right now? It is absolutely insane. I might just to troll you. I might buy you a monster truck.
Please.
I want one. And just deck it out in redhead themed stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Fucking A, dude. Yeah. I would if you got me a monster truck, I would literally drive around a monster with your fucking face on it. And then I'd put it on a Christmas sweatshirt.
Okay. Of all the expensive stuff that I'm now able to buy, a monster truck is the cheapest thing to do.
I love it, dude.
But no, it's the
Are you gonna buy a Soul at some point? Is that on your wish list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. What a great joke. What an elevated joke. I just got done talking about how you're funny and you bring in that level of elementary to this.
I've got to balance it out, man. Okay? I've got to balance it. Wes, I can't just keep firing off fucking howitzers, dude. I got to lower the bar a little bit by dropping a fucking low-hanging fruit joke. That way, whatever comes out of my mouth next it's going to be that much better.
Let's put it this way. Let's get back to the root of the question. When they called for the challenge, they said, you have these, and then they said whatever the dates were, and it was a 3-month-long commitment.
I know, it's a long one.
Assuming that if you just showed up and had done nothing, no pre-gaming, no running or lifting weights, no nothing, and you just showed up and
kind of in the shape you're in right now.
To those of you that are just
they
listening,
can see, Wes. This isn't audio. They can see.
But to those of you that can that are just listening, I want you to see how great I'm lifting weights. I'm in shape. I could, yeah.
Oh.
Like
usually it doesn't happen. Usually you have like the postpartum thing. 'Cause it happens to men too. Just so you know, postpartum pregnancy, it happens to men too. And you know why it happens? This is a very interesting factoid. Because I told Leroy the same thing after he had a kid. He's like, dude, I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in. What happens is a man's body actually starts producing less testosterone after they have a kid because it's supposed to prevent the male from wanting to like go out and like it's supposed to calm them down and make them want to be more like fatherly or around or maternal or paternal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You want to know what makes me want to be a good father? When I look at you and I'm like, man, I just need to figure out how to be more like Bananas.
Yeah.
Like just be more responsible and mature.
Yeah, dude.
And just like such a good mentor to young women.
I mean, I got to say, Wes, they shoot for the moon. You might land amongst the stars.
I'm shooting for you and I feel
you'll
like
get there one day. You'll get there. I mean, maybe you won't, but I mean, you could try. I like that you're setting your goals lofty, though.
Point is, like, let's address a few things that I'm getting often. It's like, so the House of Villains stuff comes out, and they're like, you retired from the challenge for this, and it's like, no, there's such a huge difference.
There is.
The House of Villains, if you last the whole time, is like 3 weeks long, and then the challenge, if you last the whole time, is 3 months long. The better, or excuse me, let me rephrase. The worse shape you show up into House of Villains, the higher likelihood that you're going to win. And so showing up at completely out of shape and not caring is actually the best strategy. There
could also be something said for doing other shows. There's a few other things. One, the reason when I got invited to do, Traders, House of Villains, what I want to do is I'm like, all right, I've spent 18 years of my life crafting and honing this skill set on the challenge. I want to see how this translates into another field of play.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I feel like you and we've maxed out our earning potential on the challenge as far as what we are going to, not monetarily, but what we are going to benefit from being on the show.
Yeah.
How much higher can either one of us climb?
No, we're in the clouds. We're at the top.
It's lateral. We're moving laterally at this point. Yeah. I'm to the point now where I've done so much they don't even want to show me on the show anymore.
I know that's amazing. That's a
they
good
pay
reason.
me to show up, and then we're just not even going to show you.
Yeah.
But again, I want to go on. I want to establish, obviously different relationships with people from other networks. And again, I think it was really cool to be able to go onto these other shows and to see how my skill sets translated. We're obviously going to get in the House of Villains. We're going to talk about that for the next episode that's coming out. Just so everyone knows, this is going to be a 2-parter. We're going to talk challenge this one. Next episode, we're going to talk about the season premiere, episodes 1 and 2 of House of Villains, which comes out on the 9th and the 10th of October. So, getting back to the challenge, is there anyone besides you that you would have liked to have seen in Era 2 on?
In Era 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely would have been a chef's kiss to that era.
You would have. Who would you have replaced, though?
Well, I'm only going to say this because this came out of his mouth, and it was so sad, and I wanted to hug him. But I saw Ryan. I saw Ryan a month or so ago. You were there, but I was talking to him. He was like, he goes, "I really wish you were there." And then a sentence later, he goes, "Actually, if you were there, I wouldn't have been invited." And so he's very hyper aware of this. So
right, guy.
But I mean, it could have been Derek too. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty. But here's the other thing, though. And I don't want to.
Was Brandon?
Yeah, I don't want to keep buttering our balls on this because as much as I love doing that, but I think that's also a testament to how great we've been on the show. Is because if you think about it, from seasons 11 to 21, right? Because that's our era. Like we had to carry it was up to us.
Yeah.
To carry the franchise from those seasons.
Yep.
Like the dark ages. We did the damn thing.
We really did.
I wish I do. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, it would have been, not that it wasn't fun. It would have been more fun with you there. I don't know whose side you would have chosen, though, between me and Devin, because we all know that, Devin is basically a carbon copy of you. Modeled his entire game after you. Now, I feel like he has tweaked it in certain ways. You always added percentages and numbers. He's added like balls and strikes, and you guys are both very good at
analogies.
But here's the other thing you're both
quantifying.
Here's another thing you're both very good at. Some people call it gaslighting. Others just call it propaganda.
Oh, you are the king of propaganda. I'm not going to, you're gaslighting me by telling me about, say, propaganda. You are king propaganda. Absolute, utter horseshit right now. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, and just so you know, I don't want to butter your balls too much, but I listen to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast.
Thanks, man.
While I'm working out or in my commutes, because I have to go to another city I have a 4-hour drive once a month. And I listen to this. And I'm not even on the challenge. And every 30 minutes while recording this, you have to insult me or basically talk about how I run around and I grab the rookies and I do this. And you're just like, and it's like, oh my God, Wes, how can he do that? It's like a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
Because how can he take all of you to the final? And it's like, bitch, I'm not even on the show. I'm not coming back anytime soon. And
just 'cause I miss you, man.
Yeah.
That's why.
But you are king propaganda.
I don't know if I'm king propaganda. Listen, here's the way I see it. I'm like I'm like Tony Romo in the booth, just analyzing and breaking down people's games.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you want the best breakdowns? You go to Wes Bergmann Patreon.
Okay. You can plug your shit at the end, Bergie.
No, Patreon / Weston Bergmann
blah, blah, blah.
is where the best stuff is.
Blah, 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 blah. Sasha, can you please just edit what he said and use my voice and just say realjohnnyBananas.com for sweet swag. All right. So now, obviously, we're going to get into episode 7, but there's been a lot of shit that's gone down coming into episode 7. Some of the notable, I guess, blow-ups, if you want to call them that. We had Tony, first of all, nominating himself to go down into elimination, basically falling on a sword for two people he has virtually no relationship with.
Yeah.
To prove a point against Avery. What was your take on this whole situation?
It kind of was giving off vibes like he was trying to go home.
Okay.
Is unfortunately what I don't want to read between the lines or throw him under the bus or anything, but let's put it this way. He was either doing that or what he was doing was so stupid that it reads as that. And so, people do that, but I think he just got caught because he overplayed it. But here's the biggest argument to why he wasn't doing that. He got in a big elimination fight the week prior. If he was trying to go home, he could have just lost to Leroy.
I know.
So instead, if he was trying to go home, he took out a friend. So that's why I can't tell if what he did was just that bad of gameplay, because he had a shot to leave and no one would have questioned him losing to Leroy in it was pole wrestle, right?
No, it was balls in.
It was balls in. No one would have questioned it. But instead, he beats him and then has to go do this other kind of silly thing. Now, at first, I did kind of get that he was trying to form a relationship with what I believe was Air 4. But then once Avery kind of put their feet in the ground, you kind of need to, the smart move is to say, I understand that. I'm not going to get in trouble for that. All the blame is going to go on Avery, not me. And just, you just say, okay, Avery, you can have whatever you want. So
I think Tony is in his, I'm an adult man phase now. And I think he just has a very difficult time having anybody tell him what to do. And I think, and maybe this is just our relationship, but I feel like with Tony and what happened, we really went into this, and we went deep into our,
I listened to
past relationship. Okay. And I think Tony still has this thing where he sees me as being in my shadow.
Yeah.
And he feels like anything that I tell him to do, if he does it, even if it's beneficial for his game, it's kind of like what we went through on Global Champs. where you had Danny and Sarah that no matter what strategy we told them, because it was coming from us, they were like, we're not going to do it. Even if it's in our best interest, because it came out of your mouth, it's going to look like we're playing your game. We're not going to do that. And I feel like that's kind of like, I guess, where Tony's head's at now is I'm my own man. I'm going to make my own decisions. If somebody else tries to tell me to do something or force me to do something, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Even if it's to my own detriment.
You have to know on the challenge when to be the beta. You have to know when to break and bend, and you have to know when to placate, and you have to know when to say sorry. You have to do, and this, by the way, is also good marriage advice. And where you sometimes you
I might need that. I'll write this down.
Well,
do you have, wait, actually, instead of marriage advice, do you have like been dating a girl for a week advice?
Okay. Well, okay. Well, that means it's going to end in the next day or two.
You have advice for someone that I've dated, and when we basically said, hey, who's your hall pass? She says Brad Pitt, and then I chose her sister.
Okay, just so you know, the hall pass thing doesn't work.
It doesn't? You've tried it?
Yeah, because I have now twice set a hall pass that then just happened to be like a famous one.
It just happened.
And well, no, it was I could have been that night. And my wife, she at the time, the first time this happened, my wife broke down in tears. Knowing I was like, hey, so I mean, she's going to be at this thing tonight. I was invited. She just breaks down in tears and she can't say anything. She's like just sitting there like, do I put my foot? And I'm like, yep, I can't go sleep with this woman, can I? No. This is not that the woman was giving me permission or anything, but I mean, I probably could have found a way in. But the hall pass thing is not real.
It's not real.
Not real.
So you guys haven't joined like the swingers club. We're not going to see pineapples hanging upside down outside your spot in Kansas City anytime soon.
No.
Damn, well, I'm not going to visit.
We're not into that.
Dang
it. Into that. You can try with my wife. Good luck. Okay. Yeah, I'll let you can. Good luck. You can.
Wait, you mean I'm not her hall pass?
No.
This is bullshit.
No,
this is bullshit.
She kind of makes fun of you a lot.
What? There's no material there. How? How?
She does call me Bergie.
I think good. Well, I think that was probably in your wedding vows, like through sickness and in health, and then you're probably like, babe, you have to fucking make fun of him. You can never take him seriously. You have to make fun of him every opportunity.
You were the first person to call me Bergie, and then my wife started calling me Bergie, and then my family from St. Louis, they were like, I told them at a Christmas, and they go, we've been getting called Bergie for decades. So the Bergmans on that side of Missouri, they're all their nicknames have been Bergie forever.
No way.
And I had never heard that.
Yeah.
And so and then on Traders, there's this Bergie.
I know.
God, that hurt my feelings.
He was like, at first, I was like, oh no, this is Wes's replacement. But then, I mean, Bergie's a very lovable guy, but definitely does not bring the same entertainment value.
But it's the same name. It's the same nickname, and it's just it was so gross hearing it come out of your mauth. Like,
yeah, how'd that make you feel?
It made me feel jealous.
Really? Yeah. Should we go on Maury and talk about it
again? God, that was the highest rated episode of Maury in
ever. And it didn't even make it, and it wasn't even actually a real episode.
Yeah, the producers
got more views on YouTube than they've ever had.
They called that the gift that keeps on giving.
So, all right. So, okay, we have obviously the Tony thing. All right. The big glaring, storyline of this. Well, let's talk about this elimination first. Horacio and Derek. This obviously blew the F up. I mean, and again, I think this is a lot of this can be attributed to this new generation of not just challengers, but fans as well.
Yeah.
That feel the need to have to find controversy in every fucking thing.
Yeah.
Nothing can just happen. There has to be, if the person that you support loses or gets the short end of the stick or just does, they didn't just lose. There has to be conspiracy as to why they lost.
Yeah. Like the Chiefs.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the refs have rigged it. The NFL wants it because of Taylor Swift, and it is every single week we have to deal with that.
Yeah,
and it's just,
but that's what happens. I mean, I deal with it all the time. No matter what I do, there's still people that are calling into question like wins that I've had. Anytime it's you didn't do it as an individual, you had other people helping you. There's always a reason and a caveat as to why. But I think it's like at a fever pitch now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's these T accounts and these fan pages, and not all of them, but some of them, they're only the only reason for existence is to create controversy, sometimes where it doesn't even need to exist.
Yeah. Well, that's how they get their attention, and they are desperate for attention.
Here's the byproduct of that. Then you have cast members who want attention.
Now this one,
have to feed the beast.
This one absolutely grinds my gears. Okay, let's talk about that one specifically. It was obviously there was a mess ups but the thing is, there's been things that have been breaking in our games for 20, 30 years. Every single daily and every single elimination were devised in a boardroom in Van Nuys and then shipped via a crappy piece of art on a boat across the world, set up the day before and tested by some, for lack of a better equivalent, like interns.
Yep.
And then we go out and we play it so much harder because we care so much more. We break all this stuff because we're stronger. We're playing at 110%.
Adrenaline's flowing.
And we're super creative. We're sitting there trying to find ways to cheat, all this stuff that they can't think about.
Whoa, speak for yourself. I've never cheated a day in my life.
Okay. And all of a sudden stuff, either the art breaks or they didn't think about rules, and then they're mid thing. And then so what is supposed to happen? Like anytime there's like a halfway discrepancy, do they just stop everything to make sure? Or does that, I don't know, God forbid, mess up the television show that we're trying to create? And it's like, how are you supposed to ref this if it's a game that was invented for just one little second and is never going to be played again? And yet we compare that to, let's say, the NFL, that there's reffing controversies every single game for a game that's been around forever. And yet we're going to then invent a game that gets played once and never played again. And there's reffing controversies, and we're going to say that it's rigged, or perhaps they don't know how to ref it because it's a made up game and no one's ever reffed it before. That means that every single day the ref.
And the other thing with the NFL is you've had decades to be like, oh shit, we need to make a rule for this. If 1 foot's out, if the guy pushes the guy while he's in the air, like they've had so much time to have things that they never accounted for happen that then they have to make a rule for.
Yeah.
For this, they, like you said, they have to sit in this boardroom and be like, what are all the things that could happen?
Yeah.
And then we need to make a rule for every one of those. But then there's things that happen that they couldn't account for.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, they got the call right. Okay. That's why they didn't show it. They spent 45 minutes reviewing footage. They got the call right.
Yeah. Well, what I liked about this one, and I don't know if they've ever done this before, but
showed the cast members the footage.
Murray made them get on
Zoom.
on a Zoom and showed them the whole thing, and then they had to go back with their tail between their legs and kind of sort of explain what happened. But it's like, man, if we got up in arms every time something broke or whatever, and you got to, okay, let's go on a little mini rant here, because I really hope that a lot of cast members listen to this.
I think they all do secretly.
They in various ways they do, but they're not going to want to hear this because this is just good advice, and they hate good advice.
Yeah.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Amen.
What are you doing, you idiots? If what are you doing to yourself? Like, if you feel like there was a bad call or whatever, you can write an email and they'll listen to it. They'll read it. They'll get on the phone. They'll talk you through it. They'll find ways to make it up to you. But if you then immediately take it to social media, you're going to not only in this situation, I don't want to pick on this Horacio guy, because I've never met him before, and I've enjoyed
very nice guy.
But he and his girlfriend, who I've met one time, and who I very much so like, and I'm a fan of hers, and I hope to see her on this show again. But she wasn't even there, and they go big, and then all of a sudden the other cast members chime in. Devin chimed in a bunch, right? So I had a conversation with Devin about it, but it's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like even if they did get it wrong, let them get it wrong and then come back again, and it's just,
because we've both been on that. I've said we've been on both sides.
Yeah.
I've had sometimes I'm like, damn, I just got fucked, and then I have other times where I'm like, oh god, okay, yep.
Well, but what they did that week of negative virality around the 2 or 3 days that happened, I bet that the fandom now thinks that the show is rigged 2 or 3% more, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if every time someone says the show is rigged around a viral moment that really is just art broke, or it was a bad reffing situation or whatever, 2 or 3% times 10 times, all of a sudden the fans are going to think that it's the WWE, the WWE without a budget.
We already get that. That's still one of the first questions I get, well, there's two questions I get. One is, how do you wake up and look at Wes's face every morning? And it's like, all right, guys, it's tough, but I've worked through it.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one is the show rigged? Or does production tell you what to do? Is it real?
Well, is it rigged? I can see why you get that all the time, because it has got to be the only reason for how you've been able to win anything.
100%.
So I get that. I don't personally ever get that question.
I mean, there's a clause in my contract where basically if I win, I have to split it with the production company 50-50.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Totally.
Hey, it's a good deal for you.
Fuck yeah.
It's a good sign me up for that.
But now
deal.
there's weird things that are like, well, we're going to put you on. We're just going to edit you out of the show as well.
Yeah, but point is, like, okay, that doesn't sound like that much. It's like, oh, they can withstand the hit of 2 to 3%, but not after it gets added up enough. And all of a sudden, the asset that we want, the game that we want to continue to play for as long as we want. And even like me, I'm not going to play the game again, but I want to watch it forever. I want to show it to my daughter.
Yeah.
I want to come on your show occasionally and talk about this. This is fun. I'm a fan of the show just because I'm not on it. And so when I see cast members say negative things about production and the games and the reffing and all this kind of stuff, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
And it's not Horacio, right? Like
No.
It's not at all. It's just, there's a lot of them.
Yes.
And
what I'm saying though is, if you notice, this never used to happen.
No.
This was never a thing.
Yeah.
This is a very new thing where now it's like, I think it all goes back to this sense of like entitlement, kind of what you were saying before about why everyone's like, oh, well, why do they get these opportunities? And why is this one getting a show offer to go here? And why does he, have more preferential treatment sometimes? And it's like, it's called fucking seniority.
Yeah.
It's called, I've been doing this since you were still in diapers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't call the show rigged. I showed up on time. I was actually funny, God forbid. All the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not just showing up and being strong. It's not just and the people that piss me off also is like the people that are really good at like hall brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Like they think that they're God's gift to the challenge because they're bigger than us.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not funny.
Yeah.
You're not playing the politics. And you're not getting any airtime. That body can't even run a final, let alone win one.
That's my favorite, is when you win an elimination. It's like, oh, well, if it would have been this, it wouldn't have worked. Or it should have been this. And it's like, but it wasn't. And that's the thing about the challenge. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. It's like, fucking box of chocolates. Cara and Laurel.
So
where do you come down on this? Because this is what I've maintained, and I'm going to get shit for this again. No matter how eloquently I put this, it does not fucking resonate. You know what's funny is, up until like this season, like when All Stars came out, when like their really big first flare-up came out, now this season, the amount of Laurel hatred out there right now surrounding a relationship that has gone on and has been this way forever. You look back, this goes all the way back to like Free Agents, I think was the first time they had a really big, blow up or whatever. And now all of a sudden it's like hit this fever pitch where Laurel is the ultimate bully and Cara has now turned into the ultimate victim. And my point continues to be, they are both, the blame should be shared, okay? Now you can say whether it's equal, one's a little more in the wrong than the other. They both play a role in this heated rivalry that continues to be extremely incendiary, right? But you can't just sit here and be like, oh my God, Laurel's a bully, when it's like, no, there's an antagonism that takes place that leads to that. And and again, going into this season, I got a lot of shit, and I still get a lot of shit, but the first episode, when Laurel and I chose Cara Maria to go in, coming into the season, I hadn't spoken to Cara in years. Me and Paulie just put our differences aside.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come in and basically stick my neck out for or save somebody that I feel like the first opportunity they get, they're going to throw me in.
Well, okay, which one of these two things do you want to talk about? Because they're two different ones. I think that one, I was hoping.
Which one are we talking about?
Let's go in chronological order of like you choosing to throw Cara in.
Got it.
So, and this is just now brainstorming. It's easier to kind of get through this. Tell me, this is what I would have at least thought about. Is what if you had a conversation with her and you're like, listen, I'm going to save you, but can this be the olive branch?
We didn't. And why is that my responsibility? Because I won, Wes. I'm just saying, here's the thing. If it was the other way around, and I've said this in the past, I'm a big timing guy.
Yeah.
If somebody waits until their ass is on the line to come up and negotiate a deal with me, I'm like, the only reason you're doing this is because you're trying to work yourself out of a jam.
I meant that
had that conversation happened.
I know.
And we had Paul, and Paulie was there, like me and Paulie, like have kind of, here's the thing. I don't think Cara wanted to squash that.
Maybe
because
not.
Here's what I think she wanted. I think she wanted to be able to rely on Paulie to be like, oh, well, you guys are good. And that would keep her safe. But then if she ever sends me and she goes, well, you and I never had a conversation.
Yeah, and that might be true. But what about, I'm just thinking about it from your standpoint. Like if I was you in that point in time, I get that the timing's right. I get that you have all the leverage. Sometime, and your big point in timing, what you really mean is I want you to make a deal with me before anyone has any leverage. And that's true. It makes things more authentic.
Yeah.
But sometimes doing the really like kind of weird thing of you've got all the leverage and all the power, that's a time that might be a good time to make a deal as well.
Yep.
Where you go to Cara and you're like, listen, I would have preferred us to have this conversation days ago. Now your ass is on the line. And I just want to know, like, if I save you, can this be the olive branch? And because that would have been a really because I think she would have taken that olive branch.
Here's my only problem with that is I don't know then where, because I know she had already between her and Paulie, she already had a laundry list of people she was working with, and I just didn't know where that was going to. And it's hard, man, if you haven't squashed beef with people, it's hard to do it on the show and then establish trust when you're there. It takes a long time.
I know, but you are
not everyone could be you and I.
I know, but look how beneficial it has been.
I know. Well, it was because you know what? I think you and I, but it was different because you and I, it was season after season after season.
You and Cara have had season after season.
We have, but we haven't been on a show together in how long?
I know, and I'm just saying I would have liked as a viewer and as a strategist to watch you maybe make that move. And so let's just pretend it because I'm curious, who would you have thrown in then?
Aviv.
And I don't think you would have caught any flack for that.
I wouldn't have caught any flack, but here's the way I was looking at it. Aviv hasn't been on in forever. She's really good at puzzles. Her and Darrell, they won a challenge together.
Yeah.
Darrell even says they wouldn't have won without her. So I already knew she had nobody. Yeah. Okay. She's brand new to the show, and she's strong, dude. Yeah, she's small, but she's strong. So I'm like,
I was on the season that she beat me in that final. Like I get.
So that's the way I was looking at it. Is like you always say, buy low and sell high. Yeah. I was using I was applying Wes Bergmann strategy to it. I'm going to buy low and I'm going to sell high with her.
That's a darn good strategy. I'm glad you're listening. But I think in that situation though, Cara is at a low, and if you save her, she's going to go back to it. And so I would have thought a lot harder about saving her.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I wasn't willing to risk it in that moment. Okay. Right. I get what you're saying, but there was like, I just wasn't willing to, potentially burn a bridge that I didn't need to when I feel like the bridge that Cara and I were on was already burned.
Her speech in that chamber was great, but your main argument, and I get it, the headline is it's too little too late. It almost doesn't matter but I think that I wish that she had given that speech to you like 2 days prior.
I said this. That's what I said to Paulie when he got back and he was all pissed off. I'm like, dude, he's like, she told you we're good. I was like, yeah, she told me that in the chamber. Had she told me this in the hotel or 2 days ago, it would have been potentially been a different outcome.
I do want to just give her props because that was a great speech.
It was.
I think that the chambers this season have been fantastic.
Have been great.
The elevation of people understanding how to talk and how to articulate. I'm proud of everyone. Yeah. This is how I've been playing for years. Like you get in, you make good arguments. You concede points, which makes your actual points have more power. And they're just doing such a good job at it. And that was one of Cara's best political moments that I've ever seen. I get timing wise, you would have rather had that be earlier, but from your standpoint, sometimes you need to be the bigger man. And I would love to see you do that.
But I'm a petty bitch.
You've got a golden spoon stuck up your ass.
Yeah, I do. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Not the only thing that's been up your
exactly.
ass.
I was like, dude, I didn't know there's any room.
Okay, so there's that one. Okay. So if you want to move on to the Laurel and Cara one.
And because again, you and I think this is the other glaring oversight that a lot of fans have. You guys are seeing what's on TV. You are seeing an edited, distilled version down of a series of events. And I'm not just talking about this season. I'm talking about over the lifetime of these relationships. And I have been there from the beginning. I was there when Cara and Laurel met on was it Cutthroat was the first season they did? I believe.
No, Fresh Meat 2.
Fresh Meat 2. been there. I wasn't on Fresh Meat 2, but I've been on multiple seasons, and I've seen
Cara
this.
Was barely on Fresh Meat 2.
I've seen this relationship have its highs and its lows, and again, I think we're at one of the lows. But fans literally take it and they don't realize that there is this long history and there's a lot that is not seen. There's a lot that does not make air. And again, I always relate it to a foul in football, where a lot of times the guy that makes the first move that hits the guy first doesn't get the foul. It's the guy that retaliates. And Laurel, I feel like, keeps on getting penalized for retaliating, but there's no penalties going to Cara for antagonizing her before she reacts.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of antagonizing. I would say my big thing is I haven't seen any growth out of Laurel at all. Your growth is stunted, but at least you've been funny. You're stuck at immature and funny, but at least we get the funny. She's just not funny and she's stuck. And so it's like, I don't find any entertainment out of her. And let's put it this way. Laurel would not be on the challenge if she was the same size as all the other girls, because she's not good at the challenge. She's just bigger than all of them.
No, she's really good, dude. She's good. Wes, you can't say she's not good. She literally beat Ninja at a fucking American Ninja Warrior climbing thing that Ninja is supposed. She did. Okay, she lost on a technicality. She lost on a technicality. But you could also say the same thing. Okay, what about like you can't just say that it's just her size, because obviously her size works in her favor on certain things, but she wins things that girls smaller than her should be able to win. And I don't think it's just her size. She might not, Laurel might not be the funniest when it comes to, like she doesn't necessarily have like a slapstick sense of humor, but the girl, when it comes to standing up for her shit and when it comes to like making her, basically making a point and sticking with it. And I mean, she dumped a goddamn bottle of fucking Coke on your head, dude. Like, she has her moments. She's made some very impressive reality television moments. And I do not think it's just attributed to her size.
Okay. So, but when it comes to this argument, it just kind of stinks, because I feel like there has been opportunities for her to showcase more growth over the years, and I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing anything. We've made a bunch of mistakes when we were younger, and we've watched that and said, "Hey, how do I tweak this? How do I make myself better from this? How do I grow and evolve?" And I just don't think she's doing that.
Here's the thing: you could say that, and a similar argument could be made about old school CT. Okay, where old school CT, because he was so feared, because everybody knew he's gonna, no matter what the fucking challenge is, if it's a physical challenge, the guy's just he's just a freak of nature. But he was also the guy that was getting kicked off season after season for losing his temper and punching people in the face.
Yeah.
And again, but I would agree, there has been growth. He's like, he's had a kid, he's matured, he's a different version of himself, right?
Yeah, he's not murdering anybody right now.
But my point with Laurel is the same, where it's like, yes, she is this like big physically imposing, competitor. But I mean, that's only one of I think the things in her skill set that makes her as intimidating as she is. I think even if she wasn't, I think she'd still be a fantastic competitor.
I don't know.
But beyond, agree to disagree.
I said I don't know.
All right.
I just say it would be
agree to not know.
I agree to not know. It would be interesting if she was to see how she would have done over the last 15 years if she was the same size as everybody else. She's bigger than I am. And so and a lot of the elimination games are weight-based games, and because of that, there's
not a lot. No, they're not. A lot of them aren't.
More than there should be, because there should be none.
I agree there shouldn't be any, but I don't.
These days, you and I used to be average. These days, we're like the smallest guys there.
Yeah.
And so let's say there's 10 eliminations in a season, just to keep the math easy. 2-ish of them have weight-based advantages, if not more. And that level of that gives the bigger people, they walk around like knowing that there's 20% of these things, they're unbeatable. And so there's people on the guys' side that are gigantic that basically don't have to even do the politics like I get made fun of for doing, because
I'd say there's still 80% of the eliminations that favor potentially this, because a lot of them again are based on you know, you have to be good at circus type shit. You got to be crafty. You got to be nimble.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I think that let me change my numbers to 3 of the 10 favor a bigger person. 1 out of the 10 favors a smaller person. The rest of them, it doesn't matter what size you are.
Yeah.
And so it just,
I think more of them favor agility and your brain.
Yeah.
You have to, because that's the only way to make to level the playing field.
Yeah.
Let's get into episode 7, which is the episode that just aired. Let's see. Era 1. Are you any surprise there that Era 1 has, I mean, just been decimated the way that they have?
So I got so much flack when I've talked about this multiple times. I didn't want it to be an old versus young for this exact reason.
Yeah.
Like, I am also a bigger fan of the older people, but the younger people, even you know, there might be things that get under our skin about them, but they're young and athletic and big and strong.
Yep.
And the older people, not all of them have. Quite frankly, we weren't getting cast back in the day for our athletic prowess, which means a lot of the people were plucked because they were entertaining, not because
there were some athletic specimen.
Exactly. And so and now that's why I think that how they got away with this season is they pulled it. There are some hitters. Yeah. But it's not, I'm not like overly surprised that they're getting decimated, because it's just, that's how age works and stuff like this.
Yeah. That's why we have all-stars.
That's why we have all-stars.
All-stars is like everyone's like, when are you going to do it? I'm like, because I'm not ready to be sent out to pasture yet.
Well, it'll be, you know, it's such a different dynamic though. That is a lot of fun to watch, and it'll be interesting to watch you try it one day. It'll be fun, and you know, I can go back and forth, and
you swing both ways.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
We're breaking some ground here.
Just like you, for enough money, I'll swing both ways.
All right. What'd you think of the challenge?
Okay. You remember how you made me admit to my FOMO? I had no FOMO watching this. There is nothing scarier to me than the building ones. Devin said it best, like going into this, he's like, if you have to take an elevator to the challenge, you know what time it is. And I'm like, yep, not a good time. It's
the highest we've ever jumped. It was 900 feet. And it was 150 foot free fall.
Oh, gross. Now,
no, it was 180 feet. So it was an 18-story free fall.
It looked gross.
Yeah.
I did not have any FOMO at all about that. And so, really.
And the fact that it was like randomly drawn too was like, God damn it, mine was the first name picked. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, it's rigged.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, yeah. And you're shadow banned. You're never on it.
I'm fucking shadow banned. Absolutely.
The helicopter pad kind of added to the bad guy prowess of it. Like, it's just so like,
you know what's crazy about that helicopter
pad? You jumped
pad?
off a helicopter pad.
They can't land helicopters on that. There's a flaw in the design. So a helicopter, because of the rotor wash or whatever, because the building is next to it, they literally have never been able to land a helicopter on that pad. So they basically built it for us to jump off of.
Damn.
That's it.
Damn.
It's the only reason.
So they spent tens of millions of dollars on that building and then made a mistake, but yet the challenge gods have to do an absolutely perfect game that will never get used again every single time.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna use from here on out.
Yeah. So they loved it when someone wanted to use their helipad for something.
Yeah.
So finally we get to use it
for something other than landing a helicopter.
Yeah. Oh, this place is way too dangerous to use in real life. Let's throw the challengers up there.
Were you surprised at all that Tina jumped off and grabbed 2 flags and then couldn't solve the puzzle?
No, I'm not. She's such great television.
I'm
glad that you guys have made
I know
up.
we have.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
That is good.
It took a while. I mean, but again, I think it's for the same reason. Tina and I, the last time we filmed together, I mean, I haven't seen her in years. So it's almost, if you almost leave on a bad note with somebody, that's not just going to resolve itself.
But you guys barely even knew each other. You guys were, was the Duel the only show and you were there for 2 seconds?
No, wasn't she on Gauntlet 3?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, you didn't even know her.
Yeah, it's true.
So like,
and I said one thing about her on my podcast, and then she like went nuclear on me.
Yeah, and again, that's just stemming from she's been watching from the sidelines, and there's only a handful of us that the people from the sidelines can kind of keep up with, and she doesn't necessarily like that.
But we're good now. Actually, they didn't show. After Ryan and I had our blow up this episode, after that, me and her got into it because I basically said, if you win, you better like nominate Ryan.
You want to know what's funny?
And she said, I'm not going to because I'm better friends with him. I'm like, Tina, but what's better for your game? So then I was like, all right, Tina. It's so funny. They edited all this out because they showed it in the preview. So I was like, all right, Tina, then you know what? Then I'm going to actively root. I don't know what the elimination is, but I'm going to actively root against you. Knowing that if you come back, you're going to choose me over Ryan, then I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you lose the elimination.
Yeah, but she goes much further back with Ryan. Okay, you want to know what's funny though is I invited Ryan to hang out with us tonight, so you will be seeing Ryan this evening.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Should I leave? So I should leave this golden spoon shoved up my ass.
Yes, you should.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'll be sure on my Patreon to recap how it goes.
All right.
Yeah.
We're good now. I mean, but it was just that moment. This is what frustrated me about that situation is I feel like all the teams at this point are all having some level of, I mean, you see with Corey and Devin and Jordan on their squad as well. Where it's like we got to go into rotation.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they're in rotation is because all of them, you can't really pick out who's performing better. It's like, all right, well, it's difficult. There's no way for us to quantify who's a bigger asset to the team right now. So we have to go into rotation.
Yeah, understood.
Our team is very, very easy to quantify who's a bigger asset. And that was my point is I'm like, Ryan, I think they didn't show it, but when we did the cloud catcher challenge with the balloons, Ryan popped, I think, 4 or 5 balloons. I didn't pop any.
I want you to know, as someone who's coming in this very unbiasedly, I think that your point was made. I don't think that anyone watching this is saying that you're not a bigger piece of value to your team.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're a detriment, then at some point you should, you know.
I think that your point was made very, very well, and I think everyone knows it. But I also really, really loved, I want to give Derek credit because he had a great line. He said something along the lines of, I'm sorry that we can't bench press 250 pounds, but we can kiki with 3 girls all night. And I was just taught about a year ago what kiki means.
I just found out this season because Michelle said it.
Yeah.
We were actually talking shit on Michelle and she comes in the room. She goes, oh, you guys are kikiing up here. And I'm like, what the fuck does kiki mean?
That's just like shooting the shit and bantering?
It's like gossiping.
Yeah.
Like kikiing. Yeah.
Okay, well, you and I have been kikiing for 20 years.
We've been kikiing for the last 66 minutes.
It's a great line, and it also showcases Ryan and Derek have done a good job figuring out what the so you got to hand it to them.
I saw all this, but my point was like, yo, you guys, yes, you're kikiing with the other teams, but it's also in the other team's best interest for you guys to stay.
Yeah. And they don't care.
Duh.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of challenges where you've benefited by the status quo and not changing anything.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing though, is like people love to bring up, oh, well, you know, you're just not used to not being in the big alliance. I can't remember when the last time was I was in the quote unquote big alliance that was running shit.
I feel like
it's been a long time, dude.
Speaking of shadows, I think that you've done a really good job, and I'm not 100% sure how you've done it, but you just have chiseled your way into a de facto spot on the Vacation Alliance.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But you're going to see very soon that is actually not the case.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh.
That is actually not the case at all.
You know,
a lot of, and I think a lot of it is, you know, the genesis of what you're about to see blow up. You're seeing the beginnings of it with the me, Devin, and Michelle situation.
Yeah.
But that is about to, you know, really lead into what is going to probably be the main storyline for like the rest of the season and the divides and the, you know, blow-ups that come as a result of that.
Interesting.
Now, and I know you and Devin are friends.
That's a good teaser. Makes me really want to tune in.
We should go into a commercial right there and then come back. The whole Devin and Michelle situation, I know like a lot. There's more context to it than has been put out. But again, I saw this twofold. Okay, I knew that Devin, and out of his own mouth, he said it at the halfway point of the game. And they don't show this because it didn't make air, but this is the conversation that happened. He basically said at the halfway point, you know, game's on, and basically if I'm still here, he's going to come after me because he said, you know, quote, I don't want you in my game at the end, whatever. So I then see this relationship between him and Michelle begin to develop, and I'm like, this is a very disturbing development because I was under the impression that ship had sailed. So naturally, in my mind, I'm like, I think that this is for game because yes, it makes sense to be in a relationship or to have relationships that are spanning 2 eras, right? And the more people you're involved with on your side that also have relationships on the other side, the safer you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her that in what I thought was in confidence, but she decides to then drunkenly go and tell him that I was basically trying to say that he was using her for game, which is only part of what I said. But again, Devin being the Wes Bergmann propagandist that he is, took that one little kernel and then started spreading around the house and say I was trying to ruin his life, when really all I was trying to do was expose his game.
Well, let me put it this way. Devin is one of the greatest guys that I've ever met my entire life. I love the guy, right?
I do too. I think he's great. And again, we've I thought buried the hatchet in the past.
I know, and that's why it was disappointing when I heard when everybody came back from Vietnam and I kind of started to somewhat hear roughly what happened. It was discouraging to hear that you guys weren't able to build on top of where you had gotten to, and it's like you just couldn't help yourself. You had to.
No, I had no. This did not, and I know that you're probably gonna hear a different side. This did not come from me, dude. I did not fire the first shot. The first shot was fired by him when he literally told me point blank, I'm only gonna one of his expiring deals that you made famous. I'm only gonna be. We have a deal, but it's only good until the halfway point of the show. Once the halfway point hits, all bets are off, and I'm coming after you because I don't want you in my game at the end.
I really wish he hadn't have said that.
That's what I said. So once he said that, I'm like, oh shit, all right, well.
And why would you say that?
Because he was drunk. I'm not gonna sit here then and wait until you decide when that time's convenient. I am now, if that's the mindset you're going to be in and we aren't going to work together this season, then I'm going to do everything that I can to undermine your game as much as I can to prevent that from happening.
Well, it's a shame to see because, I think that him saying that, if that's true, and I'm going to take that statement at face value, he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have meant it. He shouldn't have joked about it. Like, that's just not something to joke about. Like,
what he said his reason for saying that is because he thought that I wanted to leave halfway through the game. Because I had mentioned going in that there was potentially another show that I was going to have to leave for. You know what I'm talking about. But once I really got into it, but you know how that every season people come in saying that. Dude, Zach would say it every fucking season.
It's a great strategy.
I'm leaving here after week 1.
Yeah.
Throw me in. And then they get there and then they're there until the very end. Like the amount of times I've heard people come in and say, I don't think I'm going to be here until the end. But that is his reasoning for saying why he said he was going to come after the halfway point was, well, you said you didn't want to be here, the whole season anyways. And I'm like, well, if I didn't want to be here, then you should just naturally let me leave instead of you sitting here saying you're going to come after me.
Yeah.
Because that's what started, in my eyes, that's what started the whole thing.
Well, that is interesting. I wish that they had shown that, and I wish that he had not said it. But I also wish that you had not butted in their relationship.
Well, it was also my relationship because I have my own relationship with Michelle as well.
Uh-huh.
It's not like they're just two random people that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I see them starting a relationship and then me going in and trying to drive a wedge between them. No. I'm friends with her as well. And I'm like, yo, I don't want whatever's happening with the two of you to then affect our relationship.
Mm.
That was what I said. That was literally what I said. Yeah. I also said, I think he's using you for game. Because I wasn't 100% sure if he was or not.
I don't think he would do that. That's just not it. That's not his. That's not in his.
That's definitely not.
When has he done something like that before?
Well, he's had a girlfriend every season, so we haven't been able to see what single Devin's all about.
So give him. So now.
So what I'm saying, I'm just saying,
you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt.
No. Knowing the way he plays a game, man, no, he's not getting the benefit of the doubt because he plays a shady motherfucking game, dude.
We could say the same thing about you, but
Perfect, and I'll admit it.
But I give you the benefit of the doubt over certain things. Like, you've had showmances in the past that you're not using those poor women for.
One.
I'm not going to name a showmance because I know you don't like to talk about any of them specifically, but you weren't ever using a single one of them for game. If anything, it made your game worse.
Exactly.
So, and he knows that.
No, it was different with them because they were on two different eras. This season was different. The way the team shook down, it really did benefit you by having somebody on a different era. I mean, you saw what happened. This episode. She wins, and then she had control over who went in, and he doesn't go in because she was
it does also, like, it needs to be noted in present day, they're in a happy, healthy relationship right now. And him, like, being a Jersey boy she talked about and him coming to Hoboken all the time is actually, like, happening.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm happy for them.
Okay. So would you like to say, like, like, moving forward, I really
because we don't know where this story ends yet.
Okay.
We'll talk. We'll have another recap after this, or we'll wait to the reunion show.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because Wes, we haven't even seen this story. It's just heating up.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the elimination? Naya's decision. Is she working with too many people? Is she spread too thin? I know you're going to say no because that's your game, but what do you think about Naya?
See what I'm getting? Mr. Propaganda. I think that Naya made the right move. I think she made the right move. Like, Nehemiah is one of her, like, ride or die actual friends in real life, and so you don't screw around with that. You don't test those relationships. You don't put Nehemiah in a bad spot just because it would be convenient. Sometimes you have to feel fire because of your friends. Now, that said, like, so I think that she made the right move, and I think she made the right move. What did you think about the game itself, though?
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Did not like that elimination at all. It was so confusing, dude. Like, I mean, I get what you're supposed. I mean, and again, doing math under pressure is, this, not fucking easy.
Yeah, very hard.
So I think that, but here's the other thing that they don't show. One of the big reasons Tina lost is because I was in her head. I had her rattled so bad. We got into such a blowout before we left because I was saying, I'm going to root against you. I'm going to root against you. She wanted to say my name so badly. She wanted that revenge on me so badly. She wanted to go in, win that elimination, call me out, that was in her head. And she was more focused on getting her, like, revenge on me and coming back and, like, getting vengeance than she was winning the elimination.
Can I tell you, you are good at a lot of things. And one of the things that you're better at than probably anyone I know is making everything about you.
Yeah. Very good at that.
Yeah. Like Devin and Michelle. Oh my God. Like, how does this affect me? Oh, Tina's going in. She's bad at math because she was thinking about me.
You know who else is really good at that? You, Wes. Do you know how many times, dude, I'll never forget. I think it was D. It was either D or Devin.
Uh-oh.
And they did something on a season you weren't even on. And you tweeted, oh, I'm so proud of my mentee right now. Basically, you basically took credit for something that they did.
That's not taking credit.
That you were no. Basically, you alluded to the fact that what they did was because you taught them how to do it.
I didn't allude.
So you were basically taking credit. At least I'm taking credit for shit that happened on a show I'm on. You take credit for shit on shows that you weren't even on. You take Twitter credit. Okay, so what are you trying to say? We both are very self-absorbed and we like to think that the world revolves around us. Duh.
Well, it kind of does.
Hello.
It kind of does. Everyone's sitting here listening to us talk in a box right now.
Fuck.
like you have to acknowledge we're at least relevant enough for you to spend hours of your time listening to us jar on.
And you're about to have to listen to another hour of it. So I'm going to wrap this one up while we still can. So Wes, I thank you for coming on, but I have a feeling we're going to see you again, probably wearing the exact same outfit next week.
Wow. Okay.
So before we go, any final thoughts on the challenge, or where can people listen to your Patreon if they want to waste $5?
My link in bio is for all that stuff.
Okay.
But I love doing Patreon because I basically get to do all the recap stuff, but it's and I'm obviously really good at it.
Yeah, and you get to have a captive audience. And you get to talk about yourself a lot.
Yeah, I love the narcissism associated with it. It's just so great. But what has been noted is that it's been said that I'm the best recap artist in the game.
Okay.
And it's the single greatest digital asset associated with the challenge that's not the challenge.
Yeah.
Some have even said that it's Emmy worthy. And that
I didn't know they gave Emmys for Patreon.
They do, yeah. It's in the basement of the Emmys, but it's
okay. I thought that was
one of those, like,
I thought it was Grammys.
It's one of those sub Emmys.
It's a sub Emmy.
But it's there. It's in contention.
Mm-hmm.
And people that watch it basically fully understand, like, all of the context about what's going on. Whereas, like, if they just listen to, like, the just this episode, how are they going to really know how to break it down?
They can't.
They need me. I'm also slinging cameos and
slinging cameos?
According to Corey Wharton, that's all I got going on is Patreon and Cameo. So please go purchase those things.
I will. I'm actually gonna purchase a Cameo from you right after this. Let me get on my app. All right. Well, Wes, thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm Oprah, and I love you.
Bye.